Hey guys, in this video we will continue our tutorial about Google Firebase. If you go under on my channel under videos, there is the Google Firebase React user login and register. This is a video where we create a login registration form using Google Firebase. And basically, if you go under my playlists, you'll find this playlist which is Google Firebase. So this video is gonna be there too. I'm gonna leave a link to this playlist in the description of this video as well. And in this video we will build a notes app. So having this notes app, now I'm not gonna integrate it with the login and registration form, the one from here. We will do that in the next tutorials. In this video we will just build this functionality, which is if you see right now we have two nodes, which is the first node and then the second node, and there's an input field below, which if we fill it up and then click on add node button, it adds another node here. So all these nodes are being saved in a local state. If I refresh the page, all the information disappears, but in the future we will save them on Google Firebase as well. So let's go ahead and get started. I am gonna use VS Code, and I'm gonna remove the previous folder I had on my workspace, and then I'm gonna stop the local machine. Okay, I'm gonna create another app, so let's say npx create React app, and I'm gonna name it notes1. Press enter, and this is basically gonna take a while, and I'm gonna just pause the video and I will restart it whenever it's done. Alright, so it's done. I'm gonna just navigate to my folder, which is notes1, and then here I'm gonna type in npm start to start the local server. Okay, so it opened up another tab. Sorry about that, guys. My computer has been really slow today. Okay, so this is by default. Now we will clean up a little bit here. Let me just add this folder as a project on my VS Note1 add. Okay, and then in the source folder, wherever we have our, actually let's start from public index.html. I'm gonna remove all this HTML comment. Okay, I'm gonna save it and then close it, and then under, let's open app.js file. So here, wherever we have our logo, let's remove everything from our div class name app. Let's get rid of header, and I'm gonna type in here just hi for now. Let's save it, and then here let's remove the logo too. We don't need a logo, and let's open app CSS, and let's remove everything from here as well. Save it and close it. Now if I open my browser now, we can see that there is hi, just my just this word. So what we want to do by default is, if you see right now, there's a function here which is app. We want to use a class here. So wherever we import our React, let's put a comma, and let's import also the component, because this class is gonna extend the component. So we have class here, app extends component, and then below here, wherever we have our return, we need a render function. Okay, okay, and then here So we will start from our let's say from our state. So here we have our constructor, and then we have props, and here we use the super function props, and then below here we will have our state. So we have this state. Here's where we will save our nodes. So we have nodes, and by default we will have two nodes. The first one is gonna have an ID, which is 1, and then the content. Let's say node content is gonna be first node, and then we will have another one which is gonna be the second node, and the ID is gonna be 2 as well. So we have this object here. Now below our constructor, actually let's go ahead and just loop through these nodes and output them on the screen. So in order for us to output these nodes, we will have to create another component which is going to be node. So let's go ahead and create another folder in our source folder. I'm going to close the public. So here in our source folder, we will create another folder which is going to be node. Okay, and then here we will have another file which is going to be node.js, and here we will have another component, and we will call this component from our app.js using a loop. So let's go ahead and import React from React, and then here we want to import prop types, because we have to specify what kind of data we will be outputting. So we'll have to import prop types from prop types. Okay, and then here we will have our component, which is going to be like an ES6 component. So we have const node, and we will have props here because we will be calling this component from apps.js. So we have props, and then here we will have a return like this, and then of course a div class name, which is gonna be let's say single node. We will create all this CSS styling at the end. This is gonna be the last step. So here we will have to output. We will output the props we have in this as a parameter, and we will want to output just the content. So we will have props dot node content. Okay, now we have to call this component in our app.js file. So we will have here import node from, we have here node folder, and then we have the node file, and then below wherever we have our hi, here we have curly brackets, and then here we want to loop. So we will have our map function here. So we want to loop through our states. So we will say here this state dot nodes dot map, and then here we have node. Okay, and then we return our node component, and here we will have few parameters, if I can say like that. There's going to be the node component, node content, and here's going to be node content. This is what we will be sending to the node.js file component, and then here below we will have an ID, which is gonna be the node ID. And then below we also should have a key, because whenever we loop through an object, we need to have a key. So the key is gonna be also the it's gonna be the node ID. And then after that we just close this tab because we need some else. And then okay, everything looks good. Now what we didn't do is, in our node.js we didn't export and we didn't specify the prop types. So here we will have to specify first the prop types. So we have node dot prop types, and here we have the node content, which is gonna be a prop types. This is gonna be a string. And then below, let's just export it. Okay, let's save it. Let's save this file, and we see that we have some kind of errors. Const, let me spell it here. Maybe you already saw it. Okay, everything looks fine. If we go back and open our browser, we still get an error, cannot read property ID undefined this node ID. Okay, let's go back and see what's wrong. Well, this editor just edit is by default. So if we go back here, we can see our nodes. Just move this a little bit. We can see our nodes, which say the first node and then the second node. Okay, so what we want to do now is we want to create. We should add a field, and then having this field below, we will be able to add more nodes in our state. So let's go ahead and do that. To do that, this is going to be a separate component, so let's go ahead and create another folder in our source folder, which is going to be add new node form, and then here another file which is going to be add new node form.js. So this is going to be a class because we will have a state here. We will be working with states because we will do some kind of manipulation with we will have a new the content from the field is going to be stored in the state, and then from there we'll be sending it to app.js file. So let's go ahead and get started by importing the React. So we have import React from React, and then below here we want to create our class. So we'll have class add new node, and I forgot to add here the component because we will be extending this class is going to extend the component. Okay, now we have our class extends component. Here we will have a render function, and then in the render function we will have a return, and then here in our return is going to be our field. So first of all, we will have a wrapper which is going to be div class name, and this class name is going to be add node form, let's say field. Okay, and then here we'll have our input type text field, and this is going to have a class name input. The class name, let's say node field, and then here we'll have the on change. So whenever we will type in something here in this field, we want to save all this data in somewhere. So this is the place where the state comes. We will save all this data in the state. So whenever there is a new character in our field, then we will be calling another method, which is going to be the let's call it handle user input. So we will have on change. We will have this, and then handle user input, and then just close our input. And then here we will start with constructor, and of course we have props, and then here we have super props, and then here we have our state, and we will just have, let's say, new node content, which is gonna be empty by default. And then below this constructor we will create our handle user input method. So we have it here. Actually, let's make it ES6, and this is gonna have an event, and then here is where we will update our state. So we'll have this set state, and here we will have new node content is gonna become the so we actually assign to our state the value from our field. So we'll have here event dot target dot value. Alright, and then I'm just gonna add console log this state new node content, just to make sure everything works fine. So I'll save it. Actually, before we save it and before we test it, we still should export it. I would even name it add node, add new node. Okay, we export it like that, and then we have to import it in our app.js. So we'll have this add new node, and then this is gonna be add new node form folder, and then the file is named the same. Okay, so after we import it in our app.js, we want to call it somewhere below our mapping system, mapping loop or functionality. So we'll have here our add new form, add new node form. Okay, let's see if everything works fine. So we can see we have our field here. Now if we inspect it and go in the console, and if I type anything in our field, we can see that the state is being updated with the value from our field. Now we should add another button. Not another button, but we need a button for this form to submit it for this field. So here below our input we want to have a button, and we will have a class name for this button as well, which is going to be add node button, and then it's going to say add node. Okay, I'm going to save it, go back, and we see that this node is been this button is being outputted on the screen, and everything works fine until now. Okay, so the next step is gonna be whenever we click on this button, this new node from our the new node from our state from this component should be saved. We should save it in our main state. So to do that, we should use I'm just gonna make it a little smaller here. Here, wherever we have our input, we should add a value, and the value is gonna be the the new value from our state. So we'll have this state new, it's not a string, so this state new node content, and then on our wherever we have our button, this is going to be an on click event. So we have a class name, and then it's going to be on click event, and here is gonna have we will have another method which is gonna be add node. So we'll do like this, and then we have this. Let's say add node. Okay, and now let's go ahead and create this method here. It's gonna be below our handle user input, and this is it's not gonna have any parameters, but what we will have here is we'll actually have props. Yeah, so here using these props we will send this data to app.js component. So in our app.js component we will have another method which is going to be add node. We will name it the same name. So let's go ahead and because whenever we submit this form, whenever we click on this button, all the data from our field is being sent to this add node method. So here we will have these props. So we want to get information from this method's prop, from this, and then we will have add node method from our app.js method, app.js file. I'm sorry, that's a component. So here, this is what we will be sending to that method. It's going to be this state new node content, and then below we want to update this new node content state. So we will basically remove everything from it and make it empty again. And this is what we will have, this set state, and here we'll have new node content, and it's gonna be empty. Okay, we've got the props here. So let's do so if we save it right now, we don't get any error for now, but whenever we will click on this submit button, it's gonna pop up something which is saying this props is not function. So let's go back into to our app.js here, and then above our render function we will have a method which is the add node. So, and here we will get a node like this, and what we will do here is so we will assign all this data from our state. I'm gonna call that variable state backup or something like that, and then we will assign it to that variable, and then after that we will push a new node into that variable, and then having it with the new node we will update the local state. So let's go ahead and let's do it here. We will have a const, and this const is going to be, let's say, backup state, and this is so we assign here these state nodes. So we get these two nodes and assign them to this variable, and then below here we want to push another node to this variable. So this is what we will do here. It's going to be backup state push, and here we have ID, and the ID is going to be the backup state length plus 1. So this is gonna be the ID for the next for the new node, and this is gonna count. For example, we have two nodes here right now, and then we get the length of this object, and then +1 is gonna be 3. So the new node is gonna have ID 3, and then here the content is gonna be node content is gonna be node, because this is what we are sending there. This is the method we just created in our app.js component. So having this now here, we want to update the local state, and so this is a new object with a new node. That's what we want to assign to the local state. So let's do this. This set state, and we have nodes backup state. Oops. Okay. Now having this in place, if we save it now and we open our browser, whenever we type in anything here, it's basically showing another error. This props it not even function for some reason in our add new node form. Actually, I may be wrong here with this add node, because well, this is not a method from our from this app.js. This is the, it's not this one. We can actually basically change the name from here. It's because this error is coming up just because we didn't add a parameter here. So this is what we should have in here. So to do that, we should add node here, and it's gonna this add node. So this name from here needs to match with the method we have in our app.js, and then this name from here needs to match with this name from here. That's how we pass the data between components in React. So if we just to make sure, show you that this is correct, just go back and refresh, and then whenever we click add node, the node is being added there. Okay, now let's go ahead and add some styling in here. If we open the app CSS and we check our app.js file, we see that we have a class app, which is the main one. But basically what I want to do here is using the body, just make a global styling in here. So I'm just gonna paste a little code in here. We'll have width 100%, mean height 100%, and then the background. So this is from the previous example, just to save some time, guys. Here I'm gonna remove this static, and we will just leave img2, and the background attachment is fixed, background size is cover. So let's just create this img folder in our source folder. Okay, and now if we go, let's open the browser, and just as an example, if you go under images.google.com and search for anything, let's say mountains, just get a high resolution picture and save it. You can save it in your folder, source img, and just name it, let's say 2. Save it there, and then if we open our text editor under our images file jpg, so basically works. If we save it and go back, we can see, I'm just gonna close the console. We can see that we have a background, that images serves as a background. And then let's work on our app class. So we have this app, and then let's do, so we will have a white background, and then we will have a border which is going to be 4 pixels solid, and let's make it a little dark, and then we'll have a padding 20 pixels and a display table, and then we'll have margin on top, it's going to be 10%, and then on the sides it's going to be auto, and then on the bottom it's going to be 0. Okay, and let's see what we've got now. Okay, so we have our app. We forgot to mention the width, so we'll have width 100 pixels, and then the max width it's gonna be 500 pixels. Save it and go back and refresh it, and we'll have it. It's kind of longer now. And now if we check these components, each of these components, it's like a separate div class. So we have a single node class. Now let's start with this single node class, and so just making sure I didn't misspell it. So we have single node class, and here we'll have border, let's say DDD, actually border 1 pixel solid, and then padding of 10 pixels, and then here we will have text align left, and just save it like that and go back. So we see that we can actually style this in different ways. Just to make it exactly as in the quick demo I had at the beginning of this video, I'm just gonna add another folder here, which is my notes, and then in here, if I'm going under source, you can actually find this code on my GitHub. Is gonna be a separate repository. So here under my app CSS, I'm gonna copy all this stuff from here. Actually, for our singer node, I'm gonna copy it from here and paste it there. Okay. And then below, for the field, if we check our component, our input field has a class name which is node field, and I'm gonna copy all this stuff from here and paste it here. If you still want to follow along, you can just pause the video and copy all this stuff from here, because you see there's the body, app, single node, and then node field. I'm gonna close the previous folder. Oops. Okay, I saved it. Now if we go back, we can see that we have, the styling we had in the quick demo. Now let's go ahead and work on our button a little bit, because I didn't have any CSS for the submit button. So the submit button has a class name which is add node button, and then here we'll have, let's say, border none, padding is gonna be 10 pixels, we'll have a display block, and then width it's gonna be 100 pixels, 100%, and the color is gonna be white, and then the background color, I don't know, let's make it this color. Let's save it, and then if we open the browser, we can see this is the add node button. So if we add any other node, everything works fine. Okay, that's it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, and I will see you in the next tutorial.